United States President Joe Biden will pay a solidarity visit to Israel on Wednesday following the Hamas attacks. Iran has warned of possible preemptive action against Israel in the coming hours. And as Tel Aviv gears up for a ground offensive on the Gaza Strip, Hamas says, "We are ready. It does not scare us." U.S. President Joe Biden will visit Israel for talks with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and to make clear that Tel Aviv has the right to defend itself. From Israel, Biden will travel to Amman for talks with Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Jordanian King Abdullah II. Announcing Biden's Israel visit, U.S. Secretary of State said that Tel Aviv and Washington had agreed to develop a plan for aid to Gaza.
On Wednesday, President Biden will visit Israel. He's coming here at a critical moment for Israel, for the region, and for the world. And he's coming here to do the following. First, the President will reaffirm the United States' solidarity with Israel and our ironclad commitment to its security. President Biden will again make clear, as he's done unequivocally since Hamas's slaughter of more than 1,400 people, including at least 30 Americans, that Israel has the right and indeed the duty to defend its people from Hamas and other terrorists and to prevent future attacks. The President will hear from Israel what it needs to defend its people as we continue to work with Congress to meet those needs.
Blinken met for nearly 8 hours at the Defense Ministry with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The visit marked the top U.S. diplomat's second visit since October 7 attacks by Hamas. Previous conflicts between Hamas and Israel have ended through mediation by powers with a keen interest in West Asian peace. The casualties on both sides, Hamas killing hundreds as well as taking hostages, and Israel hitting back with deadly force, complicate any mediation plans. The role of regional kingpin Saudi Arabia remains hugely sensitive. Some analysts suggest moves to normalize the kingdom's own relationship with Israel could have been one of the motivations for the attack by Hamas. As per Washington Post, Saudi Crown Prince snubbed the U.S. Secretary of State by making him wait hours before a meeting and then postponing it. Remember, Blinken last week visited several U.S. allies in West Asia in a bid to rally them around United States' position. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is set to visit Egypt and Israel. Egypt has a peace treaty with Israel and borders the Gaza Strip, a Hamas stronghold. Egypt has in the past repeatedly been called upon to act as mediator, with Cairo also happy to add to its diplomatic prestige. Iran continues to hit out at Israel. Apart from funding Hamas, Israel's Art 4 backs Hezbollah in Lebanon. Iran warned of a possible preemptive action against Israel in the coming hours. The Iranian Foreign Ministry said, and I quote, "The resistance leaders will not allow Israel to do whatever it wants in Gaza." A Russian-drafted UN Security Council resolution that called for a humanitarian ceasefire in the war failed to pass. Russia proposed the one-page draft text on Friday, which also called for the release of hostages, humanitarian aid access, and the safe evacuation of civilians in need. The text condemned violence against civilians and all acts of terrorism, but did not name Hamas. Meanwhile, Colombia said Israel's ambassador should leave the South American country before rolling back comments. The Colombian minister initially said the Israeli envoy should at a minimum apologize and leave after criticizing Petro's comparison of Israeli attacks on Gaza with the Nazi persecution of the Jews. Later, he stated he had merely demanded respect for Colombia's president. The Colombian foreign minister said, and I quote, "I have not said that the Israeli ambassador is expelled." Our correspondent Susan Tehrani explains what the context is for the standby order for the U.S. military in Israel.
President Biden continues to face intense pressure to save American hostages believed to be held in Hamas captivity, as the Pentagon chief tells U.S. troops to be ready to go to Israel on short notice. As advisors and spy chiefs briefed President Biden on Monday, U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin sent "be ready to deploy" orders to American troops to further defend Israel if needed in advisory or medical support roles. However, late on Monday afternoon, we learned from defense officials that the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit, which is a special operations rapid response force, is moving closer to Israel via the Red Sea.
For more on this, we were earlier joined by Professor James A. Russell from Monterey, California. Mr. Russell is the Associate Professor in the Department of National Security Affairs at NPS. Listen in.
As President Biden stated on Sunday in his interview with CBS, that he said some words to the effect that he doesn't think an Israeli occupation of Gaza is a good idea. I think he's also going to, when he is in Israel for these consultations, he's going to use what leverage he can to try to introduce some kind of restraint to the military operation. And I think it's a foregone conclusion that the military operation is going to happen. I don't see that there's any way around it. There's a buildup right now on the border. Israel is making preparations to go in, and I expect, regrettably, I expect that this is going to happen, and things are going to be worse. These are pretty delicate alliance dynamics. I don't think the president would place himself in a position of open disagreement with the Israelis. I think he's there to express his support and solidarity with the Israeli cause. And I should add that he has extremely strong backing from this at home in the United States from both political parties, even if the Republicans in the House of Representatives seem incapable of electing a Speaker of the House. But the point is, he's there to demonstrate support, show solidarity. I wouldn't expect that there is going to be any kind of open disagreement with steps that the Israelis are or aren't going to take. I mean, President Biden has been at this for a long time. He's a seasoned professional, particularly in foreign policy, and I don't see this as being one of the things that would happen. That is to say, some kind of disagreement with the Israelis out in the open in a visit like this. This is a visit to demonstrate solidarity and American commitment.